Okay.
So, welcome everyone. And my name is Dr. Ajay. I am Executive Director of SARA Institute of Data Science. And today we have with us Mr. Jason Forrest, who is a data visualization expert. And he has worked he has his own agency with the name of JF Agency. And I would also like to congratulate him because he recently founded and a chair at a premium school, the name of School of Visual Arts in New York, I guess, right? And I would like to congratulate Jason for that. And
Thank you.
with this, Jason also was a co-founder of Nightingale magazine, and he has done some groundbreaking projects related to the data visualization with company McKinsey, especially during the COVID time. And his installations of art were uh, had done across the world, like Los Angeles, London, New York. He has done different visual artwork with installations, and we both believed that data education and should be open for everyone without any barriers. And as Sarah believed that data education should be open also for the marginalized communities and everyone, because data is becoming day by day extremely important. And here I approached Mr. Jason for giving a pro bono talk to Sarah students and to the also the students who are not here, but who may watch it later on the YouTube channel of the SARA. So, and thanks to so much to Jason for agreeing to giving this talk to the SARA community and the students. And with this, I would like to welcome Jason, and please share your insights on the data visualization and the storytelling. So over to you, Jason.
Well, thank you so much. All right, so I have yeah, I'll just go ahead and show it. Here we go. All right, you guys can see my screen. Uh, okay, so I have been very fortunate to give lectures regularly, and I came up with this lecture which kind of covers uh, like what's going on, right? Because there has been a number of different projects and kind of platforms that I've been affiliated with, and I've been really fortunate for that. And so this is the October 1st edition of Life, the Universe, and Everything Data Viz. In no way have I blatantly stolen this from author Douglas Adams. But one of the things I love about his book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is the idea that the book has words on the front that say "Don't panic," and I think that "Don't panic" is an excellent way to think about data. I think it's an excellent way to think about the nature of our world and changing influences in it. So I start with the "Don't panic." As Dr. Ajay mentioned, I'm Jason Forrest. I live here in New York City. I founded a data viz agency with a very imaginative name, the Jason Forrest Agency. I am now the chair and founder of the MPS Data Visualization and Communication program at the School of Visual Arts here in New York City. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Before all of this, I was an associate partner at McKinsey & Company and director of the Data Visualization Lab, and also worked on the McKinsey Health Institute for Global Public Health and led their COVID initiatives. And as mentioned, was the editor-in-chief of Nightingale. That is my email, hello@jasonforrestagency.com. Just write me. That is my LinkedIn, Jason Forrest, FTW. So, drop me a line. I'd always love hearing people, happy to answer any questions. And I like to start these kind of talks really in focusing on core beliefs. I think that there are a lot of reasons to jump into various other aspects of data science, data visualization, data communication. But these core beliefs really shape what it is that we do and how we do it. And it really starts with having fun, right? We're passionate about our work and we want to bring as much joy into it as possible. And having fun really is a superpower. There's lots of different types of fun. We're not talking about just giggling and going crazy the whole time. We're not talking about, you know, being silly. But that's not to say that you can't be silly in your work. when you have fun, it creates lots of different aspects. And one of them is that you really pledge yourself to a team. And so I always say quality work is a team sport that follows the process. When you're having fun and you're making quality work, it makes a bigger impact, right? And by that I mean when you make something and you strive for something bigger, it creates more interest, more traffic, and that creates more opportunities for you, your team, your organization. Additionally, constraints should be embraced. You should always try to use your constraints to fuel your problem-solving process. Um, you should try to start every project with a conversation to define your communications objectives. We start all of our projects with an exercise called Disco Fours, which is effectively a way of kind of drawing the ideas you have in your mind. And we've done it with CEOs, we've done it with technical people, we've done it with data engineers, we've done it with people that are experts in supply chain and manufacturing and healthcare. And starting your work focusing on people and what they have in their minds is always a great way. And that also helps you to lift people up with everything you do. And this is really another foundational aspect, not only focusing on team culture, but focusing on helping every person in the team bring the best of their selves to their work. While we've obviously had a lot of focus on people, it's also really crucial to focus on the data. And that's why I say data is a stakeholder. So what you'll see throughout the throughout the presentation is a focus on exploring and researching the data really when you begin, because it's really through that kind of prototyping and research phase that allows you to understand more about the people that you are designing for and what the data represents. And lastly, study history in order to be inspired by it. Data viz has been around for more than 200 years. So why would you just reinvent everything? So the first chapter, Life, is my current agency, Jason Forrest Agency. Look at all the videos move. Ooh. We predominantly kind of focus on two areas. So data exploration tools or data storytelling. The exploration tools could be thought of as web applications, dashboards, things that are much more kind of software development and kind of tool-based, versus data storytelling, which would be much more based on like generating, websites or a booklet or posters or something that's more about the design of the story of data. And so wanted to share a few examples of this. The first is a project we had with a family office in San Francisco called Crankstart. They have a mission to kind of increase possibilities for every person in San Francisco. And so we were asked to do this project called Streets of Stability. This was effectively a series of policy recommendations about homelessness in San Francisco. And it all started with this chart right here, this what we call the spaghetti chart. Effectively a network diagram showing you the three phases of homelessness, the 263 service agencies around the outside of that circle, and the 12 funding departments. And with that chart alone, we helped lots and lots of people, both in the city, in the different support network, and of course in the funding agencies, recognize just how complicated it is. And so what was so fascinating about this project was with this one chart, we created a lot of questions, right? We prototyped the data, we made the chart, we started showing it to people, and they said, oh, well, why does it look this way? And oh, why is that agency looking that way? And so from there, we made another chart. And like, for example, this Sankey diagram you see at the top is a diagram showing the flow through homelessness. And unfortunately, this recursive kind of loop, feedback loop at the bottom is chronic homelessness, people that can't quite escape the cycle year over year. After we did that, they were like, how do we, put more fidelity into the policy recommendations? And eventually that turned into this website with all these nice and very empathy generating illustrations, kind of showing, a positive but not, overly showing, homeless people as part of people in the city, and then eventually turned into a booklet. So what's so exciting about this project is we had a lot of collaboration with lots of different city agencies and different funding supporters. And we launched this on October 7th of last year. There was a mayoral election in San Francisco that took place on November 4th, and where Daniel Lurie, the incoming mayor of San Francisco, was elected, or now the current mayor of San Francisco. And on January 10th of this year, my main thought partner and collaborator on this project was named the deputy mayor. So this project started with this chart, the kind of spaghetti chart you see up here, and it ended with an actual, appointment, a government appointment. And now we're actually working with the city of San Francisco to do more kind of communication efforts, to visualize more types of data so that we can kind of bring this impact. But this is one of the really rare and very exciting opportunities where you literally started with one chart, and then it kind of ballooned and ballooned and ballooned into something that has a real world impact. Another project we did a few years ago was with the Perkins School for the Blind. Perkins School for the Blind in Boston is the second oldest school in the world for blind people. They asked us to get involved with a campaign that they were trying to launch for CVI awareness. Now, CVI is cortical visual impairment. It's effectively a form of brain damage that when children have, they have a very complicated to diagnose form of limited sight and blindness. There are 16 ways that CVI manifests itself. It's all kind of confusing, and it's predominantly diagnosed in young people and children first. So the first thing we wanted to do was to make sure that people knew that we were talking about young people. We weren't just talking about numbers, we were talking about actual people. And so we went up to Boston to meet several young people that have CVI, and on the website that we created for them, you hear their voices, right? You hear them tell their stories. And what was so interesting is when we went there, we realized we couldn't really talk to them about their experience of living with CVI. But what we could do is talk to them about how they kind of perceived their reality. For example, Tina, as you can see here in the bottom, only really could see the world when she looked at it through the viewfinder of her camera, right? Because that was a way for her to kind of distill down the noise of the world and almost reduce. Zeke liked to play jokes on people and found lots of very interesting ways of using his limited vision to kind of prank people. Aiden, as you can see here, really he liked. Oftentimes his vision becomes decoupled, so it becomes more like abstract colors and shapes, and he uses that as inspiration for his own watercolors. So we made this project with Perkins School for the Blind. As you can see, there's a series of maps, a series of illustrations, a series of really a presentation to help people understand and empathize. When you talk about accessibility in data visualization, predominantly people have talked about it in terms of color, maybe some like alt tagging of images, but there's a tremendous amount more to do to really integrate your front end code so it can be optimized by screen readers and other kind of vision assisted tools. What was so fascinating is we are largely focusing these front end developments on simple charts, line charts, bar charts, and those usually only have a number of data points. There are over 3,300 counties in the US, and we had about 15 different metrics. So in order to do a fully accessible development, interactive with the scrolly telling, as you can see at the bottom, kind of moving, it was a real feat, and we had a great time collaborating with the Perkins staff, their development, their accessibility coaches, and of course the actual students and faculty. The last point about this, to talk about the impact, is by taking the time to focus on the people and to really try to make and clarify a much more explainable approach to what CVI is and how we can help in things like create more diagnosis centers, which is what the map is you see at the top. We were able to actually influence the US government, the Department of Health, and 2025 is actually CVI Awareness Year. So there actually has been a full rollout to educational materials, to healthcare facilities, higher education, or educators, policymakers across the country to take exactly these kind of red counties. These are the areas that are 500 miles away from a diagnosis center so that we can get more diagnosis. So very proud of this work as well. As mentioned, we did a bunch of work on COVID. Here are some interactive animated charts about our work there. We had I had a kind of there was a unique moment, many unique moments in the pandemic. One of them was when vaccinations were kind of created and rolled out. And I realized that you'd really never have an opportunity where everybody in the world would be as interested in the rollout of a vaccine, because it effectively meant, going back to normal, whatever that means. And so this is the vaccination distribution map. It's a bivariate choropleth, which you can kind of see here as fully vaccinated or vaccination metrics, plus the active cases, the footprint of the disease, and you get this kind of 9 block matrix. And the bivariate choropleth has kind of been maligned as a visualization type that's too hard to use, too hard to understand. But I think it's really a matter of explanation. And so by coming up with a better legend and coming up with explanatory text that people can just kind of mouse over and learn for themselves, you create something that I think is quite powerful. This project had a huge impact. It was copied directly by the Center for Disease Control 2 weeks after we launched it with the same color palette. So we appreciated that flattery. And was viewed almost 2 million times. So this also generated a 50% whole new traffic audience for McKinsey.com. And so that's the kind of impact we really kind of strive for, how we can really use data to help people see the world a little differently and or really drive actions. A part of our work after a certain point moved from kind of presenting things on behalf of McKinsey Communications and moved into how we can really support clients. So this was an extremely well-known financial services client. I think we've been told very often that certain industries have a high threshold for data, a high fluency with data, but may have a low threshold for design. Financial services and banking would be one of those ones where people would say they don't want design, they don't like design, they don't need design. And so we created this, again, a kind of an interactive web application just for the twin CIOs of this company. It was only 2 people that we made this whole thing. We spent about 10 weeks on. And what you're seeing here, the eyeball chart that we have at the top, is about 44,000 tech workers globally. We broke that down into region, which you're seeing the sanitized version of here, but also job and skill type. And it was a very clear way of showing exactly how they had distributed their teams, and a central mistake that they had put too many types of a single role in a certain region, and it created problems in collaboration across their kind of tech function. And so I was there when we presented this to the 2 CIOs. It was a very tense, very awkward meeting where one of the CIOs just did not understand, and he was really having a breakdown. You could see that he just was like, where's the PowerPoint? Where is a simple table? Where's my line chart? He was just really having a hard time. And the other CIO was really reading it and parsing it and understanding it. And finally, one of the leaders looked at the other leaders and said, if we knew it was this blue, we would have made better decisions. And then that was like a record scratch moment everybody stopped. They started focusing on the actual data and reading about it, and it created a lot of impact for that organization. I've showed you a lot of kind of interesting projects that are kind of highly, aesthetic. And a lot of them are made with D3.js. So, front end framework for kind of painting data in a browser. But we also, with our McKinsey team, did projects with traditional BI tools. So this is a project for the New Jersey Department of Health. It's a site really to inform the citizens of that state all about data on nursing homes. And we integrated with that team. We did lots of user research with people that were looking for information about nursing homes, with the actual healthcare centers themselves, administrators, insurance providers, advocacy groups. It was a fascinating project, and what we learned is that, people aren't scared of getting a lot of information. They're not scared of having to navigate a system, but what they do need is for you to contextualize why something's important. And oftentimes we would find that we would show people a simple bar chart, but we wouldn't actually say more is better, less is better, right? For example, we tested this map that you see in the top, and you can see it's very complicated. When you start to filter, all those little kind of speech bubbles go away. But we tested several different versions, and the more complicated view was the one that people liked more because it gave them more information and allowed them to kind of dig to find what they needed very quickly. We've also done things with aerospace manufacturing. This was also a Power BI project, a non-traditional visualization of basically part procurement. And one of the things that we were the most excited about is bringing a certain visual style, but bringing a usability into business tools, working with a lot of data scientists on the team, also in this case, a lot of manufacturing experts, and had a great impact for the client. Moving back a few years, this is probably my most well-known project that we did for McKinsey. It's the cow chart. So we did this for COP26, which was in Glasgow, Scotland. COP26 that year had 5 themes, and we created a series of videos, which you can kind of see in this little window here, how they were installed in an off-site kind of meeting area in Glasgow for different business and political leaders. And through all these videos that we made, I mean, we generated like, I don't know, 80 different charts. One of them was the cow chart. And McKinsey had published the same data 4 times previously. If cows were a country, they would be among the top greenhouse gas emitters. We adjusted the text a little bit, and we plopped a cow in the middle of a 3D bar chart, literally breaking every rule of what you're supposed to do in chart making. And it basically broke the internet. It went viral. It was on track to become the #1 viral social media post for McKinsey of all time. And then we got shut down by an official complaint by the South American cattle industry. And I was like, yes, that's another metric for success for me, right? Like if it actually annoyed somebody, then I think that meant that it was working. But in the act of doing all these different projects, we started really, as you can see, a lot of experimentation. One of the kind of later projects we did was this one. It was a series of sculptures that we made for a in-person CEO event. And we took this various data about international recruitment in the wake of the pandemic and turned them into these sculptures. What was so fascinating about it was the different CEOs and leaders, they didn't even realize that you could do this with data, right? And at first they just walked past them. They just thought they were exhibits as part of the museum that the organization had rented out. But then they realized, oh, actually this is the data and the subject matter that we're here to discuss. And so then they really integrated in and started asking people questions. And that created a lot of back and forth with the kind of McKinsey leadership that was there on site. And then that led to us doing it kind of again, a slightly different form factor, predominantly on video screens. But you can see from the videos on the right, it created a very kind of animated experience. Each screen only had a single chart or two that would kind of loop through with maybe some video in the middle. And it was very interesting for people because predominantly there for networking and just kind of mingling with other folks. But they could kind of see these in the background, and as you can even see, they'd come up and they'd take pictures of different metrics, and they'd go and share that with their teams. This is very much part and parcel to a larger initiative that I've been, a mission, I should say, that I've been kind of focused on, which is how do you create more discourse? How do you involve people more in data visualization? And that very much extends to our community. I'm proud to be one of the founders of Nightingale Magazine. It's a digital publication as well as a print magazine. We've printed actually 5 different iterations. We've shipped to 53 countries around the world now, and so very excited about that. There is an issue 6. It's been delayed, but we do hope to get that out again. Nightingale is a digital platform first and foremost. We've published thousands of articles. I think it's like 3,000 articles. I think I need to update the slide. We've had several million users over the years. We really try to focus on helping people throughout all of their aspects of their career, how-tos, articles about, how to see something differently, articles about how to do things differently. We tried to bring a very design forward and illustrative really concept to data with everything we've done with Nightingale. In many ways, I've always thought of it as like a fashion magazine for data. And we're very excited about all the impact we've had over the years. What's best is that Nightingale is still publishing. It's open for everybody. It's a pretty good deal. Basically, write an article, write Nightingale. So that's the nightingale.dvs.com URL. You can see it again right here. We pay all of our authors $50. We pair you with an editor. We promote it. We publish it and promote it. So like it's a pretty good deal, especially for our community that doesn't have that many kind of publishing outlets to talk about data and visualization. And then the other big thing in the universe, in my universe at least, is this new program that we're standing up. It's an MPS, Master in Professional Services, Data Visualization and Communication at the School of Visual Arts here in New York. SVA, as it's known more commonly, is an art school. It was started in the 70s and is really one of the premier art schools in the world. The possibility of doing a program at SVA creates a lot of really fascinating possibilities. I'm talking to SARA, who of course is focused on data science. What I have found regularly throughout my career is that data scientists comprise about maybe 70% of the data visualization community jobs focus areas. And many of those data scientists aren't really trained in design. They're not really trained in communication. And the other kind of part of the community that are coming from design are usually collaborating with someone that can navigate through the data. So as I said at the very beginning of the presentation, you're kind of always kind of on this collaboration between design and data. But we'd love to really start a program that takes a more balanced approach. It kind of, helps to help people think and gain skills on the left brain, data order logic, professional skills, and then helps them understand the design and the emotion and the art, right? And how we can really use this together to create a pretty compelling thesis portfolio so that we can focus on entering into the workforce. It is a very professional focused program. It's 3 semesters, 10 months. It's intense. It's in person here in New York. Each semester will be a blend of kind of data, code, and design education. They'll have a tremendous number of guest lectures. We'll really hope to kind of dig into everything from how to make a dashboard to how to engineer the data, all the way through how do you design an installation, an art installation, how do you leverage typography, right? There's lots and lots of fun things to explore, and the program starts really now. Our first cohort is September 2026, and there's more information on the SVA website. So life, the universe we covered. Now it's everything. The last kind of whatever, less than a quarter of my talk. It's a really interesting turn of events that I never really thought we would get to. Um, Data Vandals is a project that we started about almost 4 years ago now, 3 years ago now. I think it's almost four. Um, and it's really a project around how do we take art, how do we take data and put it on the street, right? It's not just a data art project, but it's really more how do you use data to get people talking, actual people talking in the real world. And so it's two of us, myself and artist Jen Ray. She's also my wife and partner for quite a long time. Um, and she does a lot of the artwork. She's a recognized kind of professional artist in different galleries and whatnot. And we've evolved Data Vandals over the last number of years. And where we've landed is that we try to transform data into experiences that invite curiosity and create conversations. When we started, there were lots of different experiments that we were trying to run, just like how do we do this? What's the right format? How much data is too much data? How much data is not enough? And what we realized in the process is that we're really using data to provoke conversations. And those conversations are in many ways the end result, right? Like you're meeting a person, they may not agree with you about the subject you're talking about. They may have questions about the subject you're talking about. They may be in love with the subject you're talking about. They may be an expert in it more than we are, and they can teach us about things. And it's just the dynamic nature of these conversations that have really been so exciting to explore. Datavandals.com, everything you're going to see here is definitely talked about much more on the website. But we realize that conversations activate people, right? And when you're activated, you become an active participant, right? You're not just like going to an exhibition, or you're not going to a news article just to kind of scroll down a page. You're doing something. You're putting a sticker up. You're having a conversation about what you're seeing. You're meeting someone new. And it's like, that activation, that active participation in the subject matter is something that's really different. It's really exciting for people, right? They become more aware to what's going on, and that awareness kind of happens in all directions. It's not like, we show up and are teaching people things. It's that we show up and they're teaching us things, right? We're making them more aware of other ideas, and there's a lot of examples of it. We recently in July we had a lot of fun with this project in London. We were invited by Flourish, which is part of Canva, to come make a mobile kiosk for London Data Week. We took this, the 1980s Piaggio Ape. It's a three-wheeled delivery vehicle. It's not a tuk-tuk. It's very similar though. And we wrapped it in these graphics, really metrics about different kind of facts and stats of London, and then used it to have this poll. And this poll, there we go. Yeah, we drove it around to 6 different locations in London over 2 days, and then had a third day where we kind of had it. And the whole goal was to really get people talking about the city. And so the survey itself was pretty easy to understand. A poster, classy, trashy, love it, hate it. There's like this cartogram at the bottom that's kind of abstracted to kind of help people understand what borough they live in. And we give people this sticker sheet. And so they would take the sticker and they would put it up based on these kind of topics that are happening in London today. So Elizabeth Line Foxes, Greg's Sausage Roll, which is kind of a meme, the Royals, cycling paths, apologizing for everything, London billionaires and tourists. And then they would just kind of put them on the poster, as you can see there. And so we went to lots of different parts of the city, and just had a phenomenal time with folks. The results were really interesting, because there were different socioeconomic groups in different parts of the city. There were very different perspectives. We learned a lot about how people just had a lot of interest in putting on stickers, right? Like as adults, you don't really do that very often. I think people also very much just wanted to be included. They wanted to leave their mark. They wanted to show their opinion in relation to other people. Um, and the data itself is pretty compelling. As you can see, the cartograms had kind of different things. So the first over here on the left is City Hall, lots of tourists. These two down here were from this Church Street Market, and so not that distributed. Some of the other places that were colleges had a lot of distribution. The data itself saw some kind of similar patterns. The pink ones are the Royals. We thought that people would have a particularly more negative opinion about the Royals, and they did not. Things that were surprising were foxes. Foxes, you'll recall, as you can see here, they're kind of seen as a nuisance, as a pest in London these days. And despite their kind of, at least in our perception, kind of like a noble or interesting creature, they were really seen as almost like rats. So it was very surprising to do this. A project we had done last year was this one, Hello from the Data Vandals. It was an exhibition in the East Village of New York City, and it was predominantly focused on the history and data of the neighborhood. And this was the first time that we had started to dig into New York City data in a way that we had really not done before. One of the things we wanted to do was kind of like an exit through the gift shop. And so, as everyone knows, in New York City, there's a lot of street vendors. And so we did a lot of research to try to understand the data around street vending, only to find that a lot of it was illegal. And so, as you can see, there's a line chart. You can't really read it that much, but effectively it's showing you that since for a long time they've artificially repressed the number of, or limited, I should say, the number of licenses to become an official street vendor. But what that's created is essentially a black market. And so while there's only 1,500 licenses for street vending, there's actually 23,000 street vendors. But at the same time, there's like a very rich history. So for example, people don't really know that Goldman Sachs started off as street vendors. And Macy's and Bloomingdale's also starting off, these major retailers, as street vendors. And so really exciting to get into a lot of the data on this and to kind of turn these into conversations. We did this history wall. So this basically takes a 400-year view of this 10 square block area, really starting in the indigenous peoples that were in the island, moving into early settlers, kind of like the 19th century explosion in immigration, eventually into a change in the neighborhood into more of an arts focused community. And this was a lot of fun. This was kind of the first time we'd really made a project as big as this, and we're really excited on how we can move in the future into more kind of large spaces, which I'll show you in a second. But this is also the first time we made this participation wall, and we'd had other kind of participatory gestures in the past, but we didn't realize that people were going to love the stickers so much. So hopefully this is an example of, you can see like a low fidelity version of it that then kind of gets moved into the next level of at least the design for the London project. And as you can see, we had about 2,000 stickers in 2 days. People went crazy with these things. Before that, we'd done a project in Austria, helping a graduate school of design kind of talk about the 50th anniversary of its program. We did this in public. This was one of the first times we started to kind of harvest data from the community, in this case, students, by making these posters that people could kind of graffiti on and things like that, and turning those into charts. And that was a lot of fun. And of course, we really try to have everything be kind of data backed and data derived. And so that included too, like you have an art opening, you have drinks, right? So our friend Tina, as you can see here in the middle, who's the chair of the department, had this great idea. Let's make a bar chart. And so what was funny is the students would kind of order different drinks based on the year related to the amount of water as seen from the Danube, which was the river that was right behind where we were located. We're really excited about a project. It's called LA on the Move. So a little earlier design here, but it's a project at Union Station in Los Angeles that shows really data and information about the migratory patterns of animals in Los Angeles. We're really trying to expand our practice into visualizing more data, kind of more complicated data, but also really to bring even more illustrative elements. So these walls are about 12 feet wide, 8 feet tall, and the design on top is another kind of 5 to 8 feet, I think. So they're pretty big. They're pretty big structures. It also includes this phenomenally large map that we did. This is a 3D satellite map of of all Los Angeles County, and so therefore you can see every building in the whole county. It's really exciting. We teamed up with a local nature conservancy to show trail cam photos of the actual animals in their neighborhoods, and lots of data, kind of humanized data about the animals of the city. I think my last project here is, and this is really a work in process, we're going to open up a gallery in the subway in New York City on the 51st Street. On the 6 train platform. You can see I headed to July, so timeline's a little slippery on this one, but we now have all of our insurance and we're getting ready to open this puppy up pretty soon. The goal again is, how do we engage people in longer conversations? How can we use data as a way to not only spread and raise awareness, but to kind of challenge people to think a little differently. And with that, I finish up my talk going back to the core beliefs. Have fun. Quality work is a team sport that follows the process. Great work creates a bigger impact. Constraints should be embraced. Start every project with a conversation. We lift people up with everything we do. Data is a stakeholder. And last, but certainly not least, study history in order to be inspired by it. And lastly, don't panic. So that's me. Write for Nightingale at datavisualizationsociety.org, and of course my email, and follow me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, thank you. It was a fantastic talk, Mr. Jason, and helping me also as a data science educator to understand actually how to connect visualization with people, because visualization is about people and is representing people, so people should be at the center and they should be able to connect with it. And also your presentation really helped me to think beyond bar charts and just that lines. So data visualize much more, and that is what we were expecting. So thank you so much for this wonderful talk from you.